I was 18 when I kissed an Arab man on that trip, and nothing was ever the same again. It started as a simple summer trip. I had just turned 18, young, unsure, trying to figure out who I was supposed to be. I never expected that one moment, one kiss, could flip my world inside out. He was older, Arab, mysterious, and the way he looked at me, it felt like he saw something I didn't even know was there. This wasn't just a kiss. It was the beginning of a story that would challenge everything I thought I knew about love, identity, and courage. Stay with me through this journey, because what happened after that kiss changed me forever. If you've ever felt torn between desire and fear, or stood on the edge of something you didn't understand but couldn't walk away from, then this story is for you. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and don't miss what comes next. You're not just watching a story, you're living it with me. I had just turned 18. I remember that summer like a fever dream. Dry heat, foreign languages swirling through the air, and my heart thudding against my ribs like it was trying to escape. It was my first time out of the country. A graduation gift, they called it. A trip to see the world before college stole my soul. Morocco wasn't even my choice. My cousin had raved about the markets in Marrakesh and convinced my parents it was cultural. I was just along for the ride, wide-eyed, awkward, and still pretending I had everything figured out. The first time I saw him, I was staring at a cracked wall in the old Medina, pretending to be lost so I could catch my breath. My friends had scattered into the shops, hunting scarves and spices. I needed space. I needed quiet. And there he was. He leaned against the archway like he'd been sculpted there. Clean white shirt rolled at the sleeves, black slacks, sandals, and a calm I couldn't name. His skin was golden, eyes dark, beard trimmed. He had this stillness that made everything else feel like noise. When he noticed me watching him, he didn't look away. He tilted his head slightly, a small smile pulling at the edge of his mouth. Like he already knew me. I looked away first. I told myself it was nothing, that I was just tired or overwhelmed or confused. I wasn't gay. I hadn't ever done anything with a guy. I dated girls. I kissed them. Not often, but I had. This was just admiration. That's what I told myself. The next day, I saw him again, outside a tea shop near the same alley. This time, he spoke. "You always look like you're thinking about something heavy," he said in perfect English. I laughed awkwardly. "You remember me?" He shrugged. Hard to forget a face that's trying so hard to disappear. His name was Amir. We ended up walking together that afternoon. He showed me the parts of the city my guidebook didn't mention. The alleys where old men played chess in silence. The rooftops where the air smelled like mint and dust. We talked about everything and nothing. I told him I wanted to study architecture. He told me he once dreamed of being a pilot. We didn't talk about attraction, but it was there, thick in the air, humming beneath every silence. Over the next few days, we kept running into each other. Or maybe I started finding excuses to be alone, hoping he'd appear. And he always did. Each time, he got closer. Once, he touched my wrist when I nearly tripped on uneven stone. The way his fingers lingered made my skin burn for hours. Another time, he laughed at something I said, and it made me want to say something stupid again just to hear that sound. I started lying to my friends. "I'm just going to walk around a bit," I'd say, before slipping away to find him. There was something terrifying about how easy it became to need him, and something beautiful about how he never asked for anything. He just gave me space to be there. But I couldn't tell what he felt. He was warm, present, but unreadable. I didn't know if I was a tourist distraction, a curiosity, or something else, and I was too afraid to ask. One night we stood together on the rooftop of his cousin's riad, looking out over the city. The call to prayer echoed from far away, and the orange lights flickered like stars trying to breathe through the dust. I turned to him and asked, "Do you ever wish you were somewhere else?" He didn't answer right away. Then he looked at me, really looked, and said, "Not when I'm here with you." My breath caught. I should have said something. I should have walked away. I should have laughed it off. But I didn't. I leaned in. Not fully, just a tilt. Just enough to show him I was standing on the edge of something and didn't know how to jump. He closed the distance. The kiss wasn't urgent. It wasn't messy. It was slow, careful. Like he was giving me time to change my mind, and I didn't. It was the first time I kissed a man, and everything inside me, every rule, every fear, crumbled. I pulled away first, breathless and shaking. He stayed close, eyes searching mine like he was waiting for me to run, but I didn't. I couldn't. That night, lying awake in my hotel bed, I couldn't stop thinking, what did I just do? And what if I want to do it again? I thought the kiss would be the end of it. You know how some moments feel so big that they can't possibly fit into your real life? That's what I told myself as I woke up the next morning. That maybe it was just a glitch in the universe. That I'd dreamt it. That Amir hadn't actually kissed me, hadn't actually pulled me into a version of myself I didn't recognize, but somehow didn't want to let go of. But I remembered everything. The way his lips had tasted like mint and heat. The way my whole body had gone still, like time had paused just for us. The silence afterward, when neither of us knew what to say, but also didn't need to. I stared at the ceiling in my hotel room, my heart beating too loud for how quiet it was. My roommate Kyle still snored in the other bed, blissfully unaware that my entire world had shifted 6 inches to the left. I didn't know what to do with myself. I wanted to text Amir, but I didn't even have his number. I didn't want to tell anyone, and yet, I also didn't want to pretend it didn't happen. Later that morning, I found myself back near the alley by the tea shop, hoping, again, that I'd see him. I didn't even know if he'd want to see me, but he was already there, leaning casually against the wall, arms crossed, eyes calm like always, like nothing had happened, or maybe like everything had. I walked up to him, my chest full of nerves. "Hi," I said, my voice cracking slightly. He smiled. "Hi." It was so simple, and yet so loaded. We walked without talking for a while. I didn't know how to ask what I wanted to ask. I didn't know how to say, "Did that mean something to you, or was it just a mistake?" But Amir made it easy. Somehow just being around him helped slow the storm in my head. We ended up back at that rooftop. He brought 2 small glasses of mint tea, and we sat close, our knees almost touching. He didn't make a move. He didn't bring up the kiss. I wanted to scream from the quiet. "You okay?" he asked gently. "I don't know," I admitted. "I've never done anything like that before." He didn't react, just nodded slowly, taking a sip of his tea. "It wasn't a game to me," I blurted. That made him look up. "I know. Then what was it?" He tilted his head slightly. "Something that was always going to happen." I didn't know how to respond to that. My chest ached with a kind of longing I hadn't felt before. I didn't even know what I wanted from him, just that I wanted more. After that day, we spent every spare moment together, and the more I let go, the more I realized how much I'd been holding back, about myself, about what I wanted, about who I might be. We didn't kiss again right away. It wasn't that kind of thing. There was this strange tension, like the space between us was constantly vibrating, waiting to be broken. He would brush my arm, or our legs would touch under the table, and it would send a spark through my entire body. But still, there was something unspoken holding him back. One night we were walking along the outskirts of the Medina, the city quieting down, the sky a dark velvet blanket above us. I glanced at him and said, "Sometimes I feel like you're hiding something." He looked at me, startled. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. You pull me in, and then you don't let me get too close." He didn't answer right away. Then, softly, he said, "It's not about you." "Then what is it about?" He stopped walking, turned to me. "You're young," he said carefully. "You're just starting to figure yourself out. I don't want to be something you regret." I felt like I'd been slapped, but not because he was cruel, because he was right, but also wrong. "I don't regret kissing you," I said quietly. "I regret not doing it sooner." His eyes flickered with something. Fear? Hope? And then, just as I was about to say more, a voice called out from behind us. "Amir?" We both turned. A man was standing a few feet away, taller than me, maybe mid-30s, well-dressed, and clearly surprised to see us together. Amir's body went tense instantly. He stepped back from me without thinking, his expression freezing into something unreadable. The man took a slow step forward. "Who's this?" I didn't know what to say. Neither did Amir. The silence stretched long and cold between us. I suddenly realized there was a part of Amir's life I knew nothing about, and I wasn't sure I was ready to find out what it was. He didn't say the man's name, not when the stranger walked up to us, not when he gave me that careful once-over, not when Amir muttered something in Arabic I didn't understand but could tell wasn't good. I stood there, frozen, trying to decide what role I was supposed to play. Friend? Tourist? Mistake? Amir stepped slightly in front of me. "Everything's fine," he told the man, voice low, calm but clipped. "He's just a guest." Just a guest. The words landed in my chest with a thud. He didn't look at me when he said it, and I didn't dare ask what he meant. The man didn't respond right away. He stared at Amir for a few long seconds, something unsaid burning in the silence between them. Then, finally, with a forced smile, he nodded. "Well, I'll leave you to it," he said in English. Then, to Amir, in Arabic, something quieter. I saw Amir's jaw tighten. The man walked away without looking back. As soon as he was gone, Amir exhaled, sharply, and ran a hand through his hair. "Who was that?" I asked. He didn't answer. "Amir?" He still didn't look at me. "Just someone I used to know," he said finally. "It doesn't matter." But it did, because I saw how shaken he was, how his body language shifted completely the second that man appeared, and most of all, how he distanced himself from me the moment we were seen. I didn't say anything more that night, neither did he. We walked back through the empty streets without touching, and when he said goodbye outside my hotel, it was just that goodbye. No glance back, no promise of seeing me tomorrow. I barely slept. I kept replaying the moment in my head, like maybe if I watched it enough times, I'd understand what went wrong. I thought things were building between us, slowly, sure, but building. I thought I'd felt something real when we kissed, and now I was starting to wonder if I'd misread everything. Maybe I was just a vacation curiosity after all. The next morning, I waited at the usual spot. He didn't come. That afternoon, still nothing. I walked the alleys, checked the rooftop, even passed by the tea shop twice, pretending to look at rugs. No sign of him. By evening, I started feeling something I hadn't expected. Anger. Not just at him, but at myself, for letting someone crack me open, for letting myself hope, for trusting this feeling, whatever it was, when I should have kept my guard up. I didn't know what I would do if I saw him again, but I wanted to. And then, I did. That night, I took the long way back to the hotel, walking along the outer wall of the Medina, my headphones in but nothing playing. I just needed air, space. I didn't expect to see a familiar figure sitting on the stone ledge, alone, head in his hands. Amir. He didn't notice me at first. I hesitated, debating whether to walk the other way, but I didn't. "Hey," I said quietly, pulling out my earbuds. He looked up fast, eyes surprised, maybe even guilty. Then he sighed. "I didn't think you'd come here." I crossed my arms. "You disappeared." "I had to." "Why?" He looked away, jaw tight. "I shouldn't have kissed you." There it was, the sentence I'd been dreading, the confirmation that I was a mistake, a moment of weakness, but it didn't hurt the way I thought it would, because underneath his words, I saw something else. Fear. "You didn't seem to regret it at the time," I said, stepping closer. "I don't," he admitted, voice cracking. "But that doesn't mean it's simple. I'm not asking you to marry me, Amir. I'm just asking you not to pretend it didn't happen." His silence said everything. I sat down beside him. "You're scared," I said. "I have to be," he replied. "Because of that guy?" "Who is he?" He shook his head. "Someone who knows too much." I was quiet for a moment. Then I asked, "What are you afraid he'll say?" He finally looked at me. "That I'm not the man people think I am." "And who are you?" Amir didn't answer right away. But then, he reached for my hand. It was the first time he'd touched me since the kiss. His fingers were trembling. "I don't know," he whispered. "But maybe I want to find out." We sat there like that for a long time, saying nothing, just breathing. I thought that was the turning point. I thought that moment meant something new had begun between us. But the next morning, everything changed again. Because someone had slipped a note under my hotel door. One sentence, written in ink. "Be careful who you trust here." The note didn't have the name. Just that single sentence written in blocky black ink. "Be careful who you trust here." No logo, no signature, no explanation. Just those 7 words tucked neatly under my hotel door like a threat disguised as advice. I stared at it for a long time, unsure if I should laugh, panic, or crumple it up and forget it ever existed. Instead, I folded it in half, slid it into my backpack, and told myself it probably meant nothing. Just someone playing a game, a stupid prank. Maybe someone from the hotel staff had seen me with Amir and made assumptions. But deep down, I knew it wasn't random. That morning, I skipped breakfast. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, like eyes were following me, like the air had thickened and didn't want me here anymore. I walked past the tea shop, past the alley, past the rooftop we used to meet on. No sign of Amir. Again. Part of me wanted to confront him. Another part didn't want to know the truth. I found him later, just before dusk, at a small mosque courtyard tucked away from the noise. He was sitting on the edge of the fountain, staring into the water, hands clasped like he was holding something together inside. "Got your message," I said, holding up the note. His head snapped up, confusion darkening his face. "What?" "This," I said, handing it to him. "It was under my door this morning." He read it, frowned. "This wasn't from me." "You sure?" He folded the paper slowly. "Who else have you talked to?" "No one. Just you." "Then someone's watching," he said quietly. I sat beside him. "Can we stop pretending I'm not missing something big here?" Amir didn't look at me. That man you saw the other night. His name is Tarek. Friend? No, he said. Not anymore. The way his voice shifted made me shiver. He was someone I trusted, Amir continued. Years ago, before I knew how dangerous trust can be. He knows things about me, about who I was. He has power here, not political but social. He whispers to the right people and suddenly doors close, jobs vanish. Your family doesn't speak to you anymore. Is that what happened to you? Amir nodded once. That's why I keep my life separated. Why I never let anyone close. Until you. I swallowed hard. I wanted to say something comforting, something brave. But I didn't feel brave. I felt stupid for ever thinking this was just a summer fling or some spontaneous romance. This wasn't a movie. This was his life, and it was complicated in ways I couldn't begin to fix. Why me? I asked finally. He looked over at me, eyes tired. Because you looked at me like I wasn't broken. I didn't realize I'd grabbed his hand until I felt him squeeze back. We stayed like that until the call to prayer echoed through the courtyard. He stood slowly. Come with me, he said. He didn't explain, just led me through side streets I'd never seen, into parts of the city that looked untouched by time, walls the color of rust and fire, doorways half hidden behind woven cloth. We stopped in front of a building with no sign. He knocked twice. A narrow-eyed boy opened the door, looked at Amir, and waved us in. Inside was nothing like I expected. It was quiet, cool, clean. A courtyard in the center, lit by a single bulb strung overhead. This is where I stay sometimes, Amir said, when I don't feel safe. Is that what this is? I asked. Running? He turned to me. No, this is surviving. He opened a door on the far side and gestured for me to follow. Inside was a small room, just a mattress, a fan, and a worn bookshelf with a few stacked paperbacks. He sat on the mattress. I stayed by the door. Do you trust me? He asked. I don't know, I admitted, but I want to. He nodded slowly. I want to trust you too. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. I want to show you something, he said. He tapped on the screen, then handed it to me. It was a photo. A younger version of Amir, maybe 16 or 17, with his arm around someone. Tarek. They looked happy. Underneath was a caption written in Arabic. I didn't need to translate it to understand the emotion in their faces. What happened? I asked. He betrayed me, Amir said softly. In a way I'm still paying for. Before I could respond, there was a loud knock at the main door of the building. Amir froze. Another knock, harder this time. And then a voice. Open up. We know he's inside. Amir stood frozen by the mattress, his phone still in my hand, but his eyes locked on the door like he was watching a nightmare crawl back into the room. The voice outside came again, louder now. You have no right to hide him. Open the door, Amir. I felt the blood drain from my face. He turned to me quickly, whispering, Don't say anything. Don't move. I nodded. The knock became pounding, then silence. For a few unbearable seconds, the air itself felt like it might shatter. Then came the sound of a key scraping against metal. Amir's face went white. They have a key. Before I could even react, he grabbed my arm and yanked me toward the window on the far side of the room. It was narrow, barely wide enough for a shoulder, but he pushed it open in one motion. Beyond it was a ledge, and beneath that, a tiny alley that smelled of heat and wet concrete. You're going first, he said, already helping me lift one leg out. Hurry. What about you? I'll be right behind you. I didn't have time to argue. I slipped through the window, scraped my forearm, and dropped down to the ledge. The street below looked like it would break both my ankles. But there was a pipe to the left, old and rusted, just wide enough to give me a chance. I climbed down, heart in my throat. When I hit the ground, I turned to look up. And Amir was still at the window, hesitating. "Go," I whispered up. But he wasn't looking at me. He was looking behind him. Someone had entered the room. A shadow moved fast, and Amir vanished from the window. "Amir!" I called out, too loud, panic bubbling up like acid. I wanted to run back inside. I almost did. But then I heard voices, muffled, angry, and footsteps pounding against the floorboards above. I backed into the darkness, chest heaving. I didn't know where I was or how to help him. All I had was his phone in my hand. I wandered for hours that night. At first I thought I was being followed. Every time someone passed me in the alleyways, I ducked behind a cart or slipped into a corner. The narrow streets of the Medina became a maze, and the lights blurred from the tears in my eyes. I finally collapsed on the steps of a closed spice shop, gripping the phone like it was the last piece I had left of him. I didn't even know who they were. Police? Friends of Tarek? Some authority I didn't understand? Every possibility made my chest tighten. Eventually, the screen of the phone lit up. A message appeared, from an unknown number. "You don't belong here. Leave while you still can." I stared at it. Then, against all better judgment, I typed back, "Where is Amir?" The 3 dots blinked for a moment, then disappeared. No reply. The next day, I didn't go to the tourist sites. I didn't meet up with my group. I didn't care about the museums or the palaces or the food anymore. I wanted to know if he was okay, if I'd see him again. I returned to the rooftop. Nothing. I asked the tea shop owner if he'd seen Amir. He shrugged and waved me off. I tried to retrace our steps from that night, hoping for anything. A sign, a note, a voice calling my name. Nothing. But that afternoon, just as I was about to give up, I felt a tug on my backpack. A boy, no older than 10, stood behind me, dusty face, barefoot. He held out a folded slip of paper. "For you," he said in broken English. I opened it. "Come alone, after dark, no phones." No address, just a hand-drawn symbol. A door with 3 lines above it. I recognized it instantly. It was the carved symbol on the entryway of that first rooftop, the place Amir had taken me to drink tea and watch the sunset. My heart pounded. Was this from him? Or was it a trap? Either way. I had to go. I waited until after nightfall. I ditched my phone in the hotel room and walked in silence through the winding alleys. The rooftops loomed like silent watchers above me. I reached the old door. It was ajar. Slowly, I pushed it open. Inside, the courtyard was quiet, lit only by a single candle. And there, standing in the shadows, was Amir. His face was bruised, lip split. But he was alive. I stepped toward him, breath caught in my chest. But before I could speak, he lifted a hand and whispered, "Don't say anything. They're listening." He pulled me into a dark corner where no one could hear, said he couldn't see me again, that it was too dangerous for both of us. But in his eyes, I saw it. He didn't want to let go. I told him I didn't want to forget him. He leaned his forehead against mine and whispered, "Then don't." That night I returned to my hotel with a heart both full and broken. The next day I flew home. I never heard from him again, but sometimes, when the wind is just right, I still taste mint tea, and the weight of that kiss. Sometimes a single moment changes everything. Even when it ends, the feeling stays. Have you ever lived something that marked you forever? If so, share it in the comments. And if this story touched you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. More powerful stories are coming.